I have two questions for you. There was a lot of talks of absent fathers and, how that has an effect on the family, how it affects the daughters and the sons and society at large, essentially. So my question to you is, you had both parents growing up, right?
I did.
So why did you fall into the habits that led you to incarceration?
It's a great question. I'm happy you asked it. And so let me say this. My father was always in my life, and he's from Haiti. And just, he was always in my life. However, my father came, like the way he was raised and the culture that he's from, like we didn't have a close relationship. Like, he wasn't into the sports. He wasn't into, like the rap music was coming up at that time in the 80s. That's when rap music was coming up. So it was almost like there was a disconnect between me and my father, although he was always in the life. I mean, he's high integrity man, and we're a lot closer now as I went through all my experiences. And when I got out of prison, I started looking back on it and getting a lot closer with my father. But like Jermaine was talking about, and Jermaine didn't grow up with his father, and I did have a good image from my father, my uncles. I had those images in my life. But just me personally, I had other influences that at that time in my life was stronger on me than my father. My father was the disciplinarian. Go to school, get your education,
That was the only way that you really experienced him. He was there, but more so in a disciplinary role. You didn't really get to see him in different aspects, huh?
That's right. We didn't hang out together. We went to family functions, and the adults were upstairs, the children was downstairs. That's how the Haitians do it. So holidays and everything. What's that?
That's how Jamaicans do it.
There you go. So it's the West Indian thing. It's the Caribbean thing. So he was a very staunch disciplinarian, but we didn't have conversations. I didn't talk to my father about really those type of things. And so the rap culture, the street, those type of things took a hold on me. So I had other influences that was actually stronger than my own father influencing me. So, that's just, it is what it is.
Interesting. You got anything to add to that? Okay. So my next question.
Oh, actually, I do. Sorry, you
Yeah,
too.
don't worry about it. It's all good.
How do you think that impacts your fatherhood now? So what are some things that you try to do to, be connected to your children?
Yeah.
I know you take them on a lot of trips, and every time I talk to you, you're out at dinner with one of them, or you're doing something cool with them. So,
hey, great question. I'm happy you asked it. So it had the complete opposite effect, and a lot of times, we'll see that how someone is raised, that's how they'll raise their children. So all of the great qualities like integrity, honesty, hard work, and discipline, I did take from my father and my mom, and I try and instill that in my children. But the fact that I was not as close with my father, I was super close with my mother. I was able to talk about anything with my mom, and I still can. And I knew that I wanted to be closer with my children in that type of way than I was with my dad. So, I'm super close with all of my children. And even though I always knew that, before I went to prison, like Jermaine was alluding to, I was in a mental prison also because I was on a money chase all the time. So listen, going to prison was not a good experience, and I'm not gonna try and make it seem like it was. However, there was some good things that came out of it, because I probably maybe I wouldn't be as close with my children as I am now if I didn't go to prison, because even though I knew I wanted to be close with them when they was growing up, well, my oldest was 6, my youngest was 7 months when I went to prison. But a lot of that time, like my wife used to always complain about it, I was on that money chase, and it was for real. I was always chasing money because I was making money and a lot of it. So I was missing spending the quality time. Yeah, we took trips and everything, but everything in between, I was in the streets. I was sleeping late, I was out late, I was out all night, I'm coming home early in the morning. So yes, it was an extreme effort when I came home that I knew I needed to make a difference in spending time and being present with my family. So, that's where a lot of that comes from. Losing that time and the ability to be able to spend time with your family and with your children by going to, losing that time by going to prison made me very aware of how important and how precious time is. You know, I took a lot of things for granted. And as we know, the older you get, time flies by. So, that was a promise that I made to them and also to myself and also to God, that when I came home, I was going to make the time that I spent with the people that I love, I was going to make it count.
Well, I love that. I've seen you in action.
Thank you.
I have kids. It's inspiring to see fellow men just stand up and go above and beyond for their kids.
And I appreciate that, GP. And I've seen you in action as well. And I've told you before in private, and I don't want to get religious with it because I just try not to, but I'll say this because I do believe in God, and I've said it in private, so I want to say it in public. Because one of the things I know that God appreciates is when you say something in public, and I'm going to say it in public that I've seen you in action, and the time that you spend with your child is a beautiful thing.
My brother. Big Dad's out here on the In and Out podcast.
Okay, so my second question for you is, all the interviews that we've done, a lot of the guests, like the common denominator is usually drugs.
Conversations that we've done, right?
Yeah,
I got it.
It's usually their time is stemming from some form of involvement with drugs or, the money involved or whatever. So it's kind of hard pressed to find a guest with a different story outside of being like a drug related charge. So my question is, how does it make you feel that most of us went down behind drugs and stayed down because of the policies around multiple offenses?
I'm glad you asked that question, and I appreciate it. And I just do want to point out, Jermaine Aldred did not go down because of drugs, but like you said, he was impacted by it because his parents, the drug laws, and because of the crime bill, and because his parents were interacting with drugs, drug use, selling drugs with his father, drug use by his mother. How does it make me feel? It makes me angry, to be honest with you, because listen, when I was in prison, one of the reasons why they started calling me Obama is because, I just became really, really involved with my case, the laws surrounding my case, and the politicians. More specifically, Obama was running for office, and I used to watch his campaign. And one of the things that he used to speak about while he was campaigning, which stood out to me, and I was impressed with that, was that he spoke about how the sentencing guidelines are unfair, and that in his opinion, they needed to be deconstructed and done away with. And it makes me angry. And it makes me think that it was an intelligent design, and that it was a war on poor people. When the drug laws that are still enacted, or that were enacted and that are still in place today, it makes me think it was intelligent design. It was a war on poor people, and it was a war on black and brown people, and not only black people and brown people were caught up and impacted by it. White people were impacted by it also. And it started with the 1987 SRA, Sentencing Reform Act, and then was compounded by the 1994 crime bill. Both parties had something to do with it. When it was 1987, it was Ronald Reagan that was president, but it was a Democratic Congress. When it was the 1994 crime bill, it was under the Clinton administration. Joe Biden directly helped craft the 1994 crime bill. The Clintons were down with it. Obama was not he was not a U.S. senator at the time. And so there was a lot of people that were responsible during that time. And now they're in positions today. And as I said earlier, I'm going to be listening because from what I can see, Joe Biden has not done nearly enough, if anything at all, to deconstruct those laws that for 30 years have been locking up people that look like me, people that are from a financial background like me, and that includes all Americans of all different types of socioeconomic and financial backgrounds. And it's a terrible and it's a horrible thing. Treating drug use and treating drug crimes as if we're the scourge of society. I don't buy it. I don't agree with it. And something's got to be done about it. So in a word, it makes me angry, and it makes me want to see significant change. I know, and this is not to endorse anyone. I know that Obama did start change with changing the 100-to-1 ratio of crack to cocaine, 100-to-1. He tried to go bring it to 1-to-1, but Congress wouldn't allow him to do it. And I know that President Trump, and maybe he's an unlikely person, But he started the First Step Act, and it helped a lot of people come home. And I feel that law is out there. It was bipartisanship that got the passage of that law. And Biden and his administration, if they are to be reelected, or Trump and his administration, if they are to be reelected, they've got to go further with that bill. We're listening. We want to hear what are they going to do. They've got to make substantial changes. They've got to turn this thing around. Families were impacted. Families were destroyed. Generations were destroyed. Generations were hurt. And we want to know what y'all are going to do about it.
Good insight.
Any follow-ups to that? Yeah, those are all my questions.
I got one more thing. We're really liking this conversations after the episode. If y'all like it on YouTube and you're watching this, make sure you leave a comment. Let us know that you like the extra additional commentary of each episode. What I want to know about this last episode with Jermaine is Jermaine talked about killing Jay Fly. I want to know, I know they call you Obama. I know they call you E. Did you have a street name?
I did. They used to call me a lot of things. I guess before I left, they used to call me Big E.
All right, Big E.
Right.
So I want to know about the death of Big E. What that was like for you. Did you have a killing Jay Fly moment? Did you have a killing Big E? Was there a point while you were locked up that you thought, hey, this is my ego, and this is what's gotten me here, and this is the part of me that needs to die? Is there something, did you have that aha moment of killing Big E?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. It was a continual process, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen once I caught my charge, because like Jermaine said, I was out on bond for 14 months, and I was doing all the same stuff that I was doing before I even got indicted. I was trying to make money. I was living a life of desperation, and I was doing everything. I was partying, getting high, getting money. And once I got sentenced, I guess, that was the real beginning of it. It wasn't an aha moment, but I knew that I didn't want to feel that feeling again. Once I got convicted, once I got convicted, I didn't go out on bond. I was out on bond pre-trial because I went to trial. For lack of a better term, I was what they call, I was a trial nigga. So I went to trial, and I'm sorry for it. Not sorry that I didn't tell. I'm a stand-up dude, but when I went to trial, they gave me so much more time, they knocked my head off. And when I got 151 months, which is 12 years and 7 months, hearing that gavel come down, hearing that sentence went down, that was beginning of the death of Big E. Because Big E and the money that I made, it couldn't save me. And looking at the hurt on the faces of my family and how it just crushed them, and not being able to leave that courtroom, seeing the devastation on my wife's face and on my parents and the hurt that I caused, that was the moment for me that I knew I didn't want to have that feeling again. And, I know I didn't want to hurt my family like that again. So, it was a continuous process. But, once I got in there and I started really getting to the law library and getting to it, and when people started referring to me as Obama, and I realized I didn't have to be a tough guy in order for people to follow me, and I started leading in another type of way. And, I started doing something that I was really good at. And that was the interpretation of law. And I was affecting people with my words. So I would say, yeah, that was a real aha moment for me. When I started really getting to them law books and started writing briefs, learning how to shepherdize. And I committed to getting myself out of prison before I did all of the time that the system said I was going to do, and that was really my aha moment. I knew that when I came home, I was going to be able to lead people. I had the ability to lead, and people would follow if I was doing something positive. And people looked up for me, for the intellectual side. And, I used to use that intellectual side, but I was using that intellectual side for illicit gain. So yeah, that was the aha moment, really realizing that I was a leader, so to speak, and that people followed me when I was on the outside, when I was doing illegal things, and I knew that if I could take that same type of leadership qualities and skills, use that intellectual capacity and be able to use my voice, that people would follow me in the same way. And I'm trying to do that now. And that's what In and Out is all about. Appreciate y'all checking in, tuning in. And like you said, GP, we need y'all to follow, like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on all social media platforms. In and Out, INNOUTWW, hosted by Eric Girault. This is In and Out Podcast by Eric Girault. We appreciate you checking in, tuning in, and now we're out.